Alright, so what we are going to need to make these granny square earrings is the following. We need some white yarn. Well, we'll start off with dark brown yarn, then a little bit lighter brown yarn, then we go to yellow and then to white. So I have pre-cut some 4-ply yarn that I normally use, and for each of these pre-cut pieces of yarn, I'll show you what I do. So, and you will need to do this too if you don't have yarn thread or something like that. So what I do, and you can only do this with cotton yarn, by the way, you couldn't do this with acrylic yarn. So as you can see, this is normally 4-ply yarn, which means I have 4 strands here. But I'm going to pull only one of these strands off and take it away from the rest of the strands. And so this is what I'll end up working with as I go along with my granny square, and it will just be 1-ply yarn. So I'm going to do that for each of these colors here. I'll also be using a here we go, we have a 0.9mm hook, a pair of cutters. I'll also be using some special copper wire for jewelry. This one specifically is 0.3mm in length, but feel free to use a little bit like higher than 0.3, probably like even up to 0.5, 0.6 if you have that. It's not necessary, but it does make the earring a little bit more sturdy. So if you do have some of this wire or something, do go ahead and use it. And then you will also need perhaps a pair of pliers to help you move the yarn in and out of the weaved in ends, as well as of course a very small and sharp needle. You want to make sure this needle is small and sharp. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to begin here with my darkest colored brown 1-ply yarn, and all I would do is I'm going to make, and I'll give it a little bit of a longer yarn tail just at the beginning here, and what I will do is I will make a magic ring. So here's my, oops, let's do that again. So here, then I will make my regular magic ring as I normally do, just like that. So I've got a magic ring here now, and at this point what I would do is make a total of 16 puff stitches. No, not puff stitches, oh my gosh. Ignore me. I'm going to make a total of 16 double crochet stitches. So I'm going to wrap my yarn to make the first double crochet stitch, enter it into the magic ring, pull it out, and then you pull the yarn through 2 of those loops on the hook and then another 2 loops on the hook. So that's my first double crochet stitch right there. Now I'm going to repeat that another 16 times. So I'll take you through this. So there's my second, here is my third, then this one will be number 4, then number 5. You just want to keep the yarn steady as much as you can, so that's number 5 there. Then this one is going to be number 6, 7, and once we reach 8, this will be the halfway point. So there's 8 right there. Then we have number 9, number 10 double crochet stitch, so this is number 10. Then we have 11 right here, so here's 11. Then we have 12, only 4 to go now. Here's number 1, number 2, or 14, and then we just have 2 more to go. Let's finish these off strong. So double crochet stitches, number 15 right here, this one's number 15, and finally number 16. 1, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, so we've just made 16 double crochet stitches right here, and I'm going to pull my yarn tail from my magic ring and pull it close together here now. And then I'm going to make a slip stitch in my very first stitch. So you can see here I'm making this slip stitch right here. And once you've done that, you can pull the center piece a little bit more again. So like pulling the yarn tail here to kind of close it up as much as possible. You will be left with it a little bit open, but that's more than okay. So once we've done this, we are now going to change our colors to the lighter brown colored yarn. So this is what we're going to do here. So we've got our lighter brown colored yarn. I'm going to leave myself a little bit of a yarn tail to begin, and then I'm going to come here and just chain 1 with the new color. So now I have the new color as a chain 1, and here is the old color over here. Here's the new color yarn tail. And as I complete whatever next stitch I'm going to do, which I'll let you know in a minute, I'm going to weave these 2 tail ends into it. So the next stitch that we'll be doing is what I was saying before, and this is the puff stitch. Now the puff stitch goes as follows. You wrap the yarn once, you come into your first stitch. So again, wrap the yarn, come into the very first stitch. Make sure these 2 yarn tails are on top of your hook, and then pull the yarn through and lift it up. Make sure you lift it up, okay? Then you wrap it around again, and then you come into the same stitch. Make sure the yarn tails are on top, and then pull the yarn through, but lift it up, always lifting it up. Let's wrap again, come into the same stitch. So this is the 3rd wrap now, pull it up. Okay, so there we go. Now you could choose to do that once more, but I'm going to stop it at this point. So once I've done 3 wraps and pulled it up, I'm going to pull the yarn through all of those loops that are on my hook, and then I'll chain 1 to complete that off. So that right there is called a puff stitch. Now I'm going to repeat this 16 times. So every time you finish a puff stitch, also chain 1. So I'm going to show you again. So I'm going to wrap the yarn on my hook. I'm going to come into the very next stitch, which is right here, and then I will pull up the yarn. You can see that I've pulled it up. I'm going to wrap it again, come into the same stitch, make sure these are on top of the hook for now, and then pull up the yarn. So that's the 2nd time that we've done that. Wrap the yarn again, same stitch, and pull the yarn through. So this is the 3rd time now, and pull the yarn through everything, and then chain 1. So that is our 2nd puff stitch. Now I'm only going to weave in these tail ends for maybe 1 or 2 more puff stitches, and then we can leave them behind. So I'll show you again. Wrap, so we've already chained 1, remember. Then we'll come into the next stitch after we have wrapped, and then I'm going to pull up. So wrap the yarn on your hook, come into the same stitch and pull up. Wrap the yarn, come into the same stitch and pull up. Then wrap it through, pull the yarn through everything and chain 1 to finish that off. There we go. So I'm going to let you be to finish this a total of 16 times. So remember, after each time you finish the puff stitch, you have to chain 1. All right, go ahead and do that now, and then we'll come back to it. If you want me to show you one more time, I'll show you one more time as a little bit closer to the camera. So again, we're wrapping the yarn, we're going into the stitch, we've got the yarn tails above, and we pull the yarn up. Wrap it again, same stitch, tails on top, pull the yarn up, wrap the yarn into the same stitch, tails on top of the hook, and pull the yarn up, and then pull the yarn through everything and chain 1 to finish. Okay, I'll leave you be now, so you got to finish this another 12 times until you reach the end. Okay, so we've just finished the 16th puff stitch right there, and I've chained 1 as well. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my very first stitch where I've made that puff stitch, as you can see here, and I'll just finish off with a beautiful slip stitch. A beautiful slip stitch, I'm just calling it beautiful. Okay, next we're going to change the yarn color to yellow. So we've got our yellow colored yarn over here, leave a little bit of a tail and chain 1. So we've just chained 1 right there. In this next section, we're going to be making 16 bobble stitches in each of these chain spaces. So I'm going to show you how to create a bobble stitch right now, and we're going to weave in these 2 yarn tail ends as we go along. So we're going to wrap the yarn and come into our first space right here, and we're going to pull the yarn through. And then the yarn is also going to come through 2 of those loops that were on the hook. Now let's repeat that again. So we're going to wrap the yarn on the hook, come into the same chain space, have the 2 yarn tails on top of the hook so you can weave it through for now. Pull the yarn up. Whoops, you don't want to get the yarn tail. Let's do that part again. But at least for me, you guys are fine. Just wait for me. So I'm coming here. I'm going into the same chain space, pulling up yarn. This time I'm going to pull yarn through 2 loops on the hook. So now I have 3 loops on the hook. Let's do it again. Wrap the yarn, same space, yarn tails above the hook, pull the yarn through a little bit tall here, and pull the yarn through 2 loops on the hook. Now you have 4 loops on the hook. Let's do it again. Wrap the yarn, chain space, pull the yarn through, lift it up a little, and pull the yarn through 2 loops on the hook, and now we have 5 loops on the hook. At this point, you're going to pull the yarn through each of those 5 loops on the hook, and then once you've done that, you'll chain 2, 1 and 2. Now you will repeat the same thing in each of these chain spaces all the way around. So let's do one more bubble stitch now at this point. So I'm going to wrap the yarn, come into the next chain space. I'll have these 2 yarn tails on top of the hook, and I'm going to pull the yarn through, and then pull the yarn through 2 loops on the hook. Let's repeat it again until we have 5 loops on the hook. So we're going to pull the yarn through and pull the yarn through 2 loops on the hook, pull the yarn through, and then pull it again through 2 loops on the hook, wrap the yarn, pull it through, and then pull it through 2 loops on the hook. And now we have, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on our hook. So now we can pull the yarn through all 5 loops on the hook and chain 2. So I'll let you repeat this 16 times until you finish the end, and don't forget those last 2 chains that you need to do at the end. At this point, we've just finished our 16 bubble stitches right now, and I've chained 2, and I'm going to come into the very first bubble stitch point at the top here and just make a slip stitch. So I'll try that again. So I'm coming up the top here, just before the chain 2, that's what it is. Oops, I'm getting a little bit tangled here. It shouldn't be this difficult. But yeah, once you've got into that stitch, you will just make a slip stitch and finish off that round. Now there are some very important things that I have to tell you at this point, so let me tell you them now. You probably don't notice it that much, but I actually have 2 different sizes of this right here. So this granny square is actually the bigger size, and it's because we've added this extra final round. Now you probably can't see this, but I'm trying to compare it to this round. Can you see the difference here? So this one doesn't have this final round, this little layer over here, and that's why this one is a little bit smaller. So if you want to make the smaller pair of earrings, you will cut the yarn at this point. So feed the yarn through your hook at this point into that loop and cut yourself like a 10 centimeter tail. You're not going to be using that tail, so you'll need to weave it in the back. And then to make a second one of these, and this time do not cut, because, well, you could actually cut it, because then you'd be adding the white yarn. So that's if you want the small one. So if you want the small one, finish this here, make another one, and then I'll show you what to do after that. Now if you want the bigger one, which I'm going to show you in this tutorial, because obviously better to show you the big one because there's more steps involved, what you will do is continue on with this point here. So I'm going to change my yarn color to white right at this point. Okay, so remember, I'm going to change my yarn color to white. So here's my white colored yarn, just 1 ply as well, and like we've been doing for everything else, we will do the following. So we just chain 1. Okay, now the pattern that I'm going to be doing, and in fact if you've made these small ones and you've come back to this portion and you've got 2 of the small ones together, you've woven the yellow part through, you can attach white yarn at this point. So copy whatever I do, okay, except with the larger pair, you're just going to be making whatever I do with one of these shapes, if you will. But if you're making the smaller one, you'll actually put the 2 shapes together with the good side facing outwards. So you'll put them together, and when you attach your white yarn, you're going to go through not only the one, but then your other one as well in the same place. Okay, so that's what you'll be doing if you've got the small. You'll be doing this exact same pattern, except if you've got the smaller pair of earrings, you've got 2 of these together facing outward, the good sides. But if you're doing the larger pair of earrings, you're just going to follow me. I really hope that makes sense to you guys. All right, let us begin. So we've chained the white on so we can attach it. And the next thing that we're going to do is I'm not going to come right here. I'm actually going to come one to my right side. So I'm going to, at this point, wrap the yarn, come into this stitch space right here, pull the yarn through, and I'm going to make 3 half double crochet stitches. 1, here's the second. Make sure your yarn tail is above both of those yarn tails, so I'll make sure mine is above as well. So where's my yellow? Over here. So there we go. Pull the yarn through and pull the yarn through. So that's number 2, and then just do it again. And this one here will be number 3. So 3 half double crochet stitches right in this space over here. I just wanted to point out one more thing. I know this is probably getting confusing. If you're doing the large pair of earrings, just follow me. But if you're doing the smaller pair of earrings, even though I've said to have 2 of these shapes together as you make this, what you also need to make sure you do is put the wire through it. Now, if you want to see the technique of putting the wire through it, just wait for me to show you for the larger pair of earrings. The technique is the same. So I'll show you that, and just fast forward to see it, and then you can apply it as you're working with the white round. Okay, so back to the large pair of earrings. If you're with the smaller pair of earrings, add the wire and also do this pattern, but you've got 2 of these together. I really hope this is making sense for you. So I've done 3 half double crochet stitches here. Now in the very next stitch space, I'm going to be making a corner stitch. So with a corner stitch, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to wrap the yarn, come into the stitch space. I'm going to still weave in these yarn tails as we go for maybe like the next 3 or so. And then I'll pull the yarn through, and we're going to make 3 double crochet stitches. So here's the first double crochet stitch. Wrap the yarn, come in the same space. Here's the second double crochet stitch, and then wrap the yarn, come in the same space, and we make the 3rd double crochet stitch right there. Now this is the important part. We chain 2, and then you're going to make another 3 double crochet stitches inside that same stitch space. So there's 1, here's number 2 coming up, and then number 3. And so there we go, we've just completed a corner stitch right here. The next thing that we're going to do is a half double crochet stitch over here. So here we go, we're just going to do 3 half double crochet stitches now in the next space. So I'm still weaving those yarn tails on top or with my stitches. So let's do that now. So 3 half double crochet stitches, pull through everything. So there's 1, we'll come here and perform number 2, and then here is number 3. There we go. Now in this next stitch space, we're going to make 3 single crochet stitches. So there's 1, 2, oh, let's not wrap anything there. Come in here, here will be the 2nd single crochet stitch, and here will be the 3rd. 1, 2, 3, done. Just make sure I've got the yarn on my hook here as I begin the next one. In the very next one, so I can probably stop weaving in the yarn tails at this point. And now I'm going to make again 3 half double crochet stitches in the very next space. So here's number 1. Take this very slowly as you're going, by the way. Don't rush it. 2, and here's number 3. And guess what? We're up to another corner stitch. So remember, you've got corner stitch. We added an extra one here just to make it easier for ourselves. So we did the 3 half double crochet stitches here. We've got the corner stitch, but between each corner stitch you'll have 3 half double crochet stitches, 3 single crochet stitches, then back up to 3 half double crochet stitches, and then you've got the corner stitch. So let's do the corner stitch now. So wrap the yarn, we're doing double crochet stitches at this point. So wrap, pull through 2, pull through 2, wrap again, pull through 2 and pull through 2, wrap again, same space, pull through 2 and pull through 2. Now this time we're doing the corner, so we've got to chain 2, and then do the wraps again and make 3 double crochet stitches again. So here's 1, here's number 2, and here's number 3. So that's 3 double crochet stitches finished, and you've just made that second corner, which is wonderful. So now I'm going to get you to complete all out the way around. Remember, from here to the next corner stitch, from here to the next corner stitch, and then you'll have 3 half double crochet stitches, 3 single crochet stitches, and then you'll be connecting here. So let's finish that now, and then we'll come back once we're up to our 3 single crochet stitches in this space here. We have just finished our final 3 single crochet stitches here. So now I'm going to come into the very first stitch that we made over here and just make a slip stitch. Just a nice slip stitch. There we go. Okay, now you may need to pull out the sides of this just to make it a bit more square shaped. Pull up, but it should be nice and square as much as you can do. Now I'm going to show you what to do next. So first of all, we're going to turn this around, and then we're going to cut those yarn tails that we no longer need because we've weaved them in. So there we go, cut those. Then we'll cut these over here, and then of course these ones as well, because these have all been woven into. Just make sure you cut them close to the edge. Okay, so those are the yarn tails that we've finished there now. So we've just cut those, and now what we will do is we've got the first square, and then we have the second square over here, and then from here we're going to have it placed on top of each other, so just overlaid with the outsides facing the right way, as you can see here. Okay, now what we need to do is, if you cut the yarn here and already weaved it through, then no problem. All you'll do is just attach the yarn through both of these and chain 1. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to come into the first stitch and find where it overlaps with the correct stitch in this piece as well. So we've overlaid them as best as possible. Come into that stitch, and now I'm just going to pull the yarn through. And before I pull the yarn through again, I need my wire. So I've got my wire now. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap over here, have it placed on top of my hook. And when I say gap, I meant just having a little bit of excess over here. And then we're just going to put it underneath, actually, underneath the hook, and then complete your single crochet stitch. So the wire has now been woven in. The next thing that you'll be doing is to go into the very next stitch and follow the same stitch in the back portion of your square, and then again you're going to make a single crochet stitch. So you're going to keep making these single crochet stitches through both of these squares as you weave the wire in at the same time. So make sure always, so I didn't weave the wire in there, but now it is going to be woven because the wire is on top. So I'll weave the wire in and perform a single crochet stitch. So again, I've got a few more of these stitches to go, going through the front and back stitches, and pull and make a single crochet stitch. I've got one more to go before the corner space. So I'm going to make that single crochet stitch there, and now I'm up to the corner space. So in this corner space right here, which should be both of them, I'm going to make a single crochet stitch, then I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then make another single crochet stitch in that same corner. From this point, I've finished that, and now I'm going to go through each of these stitches. So we should have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 single crochet stitches that we make, and then we have the corner space here, where again corner space is single crochet stitch, chain 2, and single crochet stitch again, and you'll do that all the way around whilst you weave the wire in at the same time. So I'll let you do that in your own time. Weave the wire in, don't forget the wire, and then we'll come back once we've almost finished and we just have a slip stitch to go. I I've just finished all the way around here, and now I've come into that very first stitch that we've finished here. I didn't weave in the wires at this point, so they've kind of crossed over now, and I'm just going to complete a slip stitch. So here's the slip stitch to finish off the larger pair of earrings. You'll do the same for the smaller ones, except it's not single crochet stitches. You don't do this part. The only part that you do with the wire is the round beforehand, so you never do this single crochet stitches all the way around. You don't have to do that, and that's what makes the difference between the small and larger pair of earrings. Okay, so now I'm going to pull the yarn through, and we'll end up weaving that yarn tail in a little bit later. Now the beauty of 0.3 millimeter copper wire is that I can cut it, which is perfect. So I can cut it at any point. And what I will try and do actually is weave this in to the back portion, so like inside. And you don't need to tape it, it's very soft. And this is again part of the beauty of having such a small amount of copper wire here. So I'm going to weave it through the eye of my needle at this point, and you'll do this for your smaller pair of earrings as well. And then just with one at a time, you're going to come in with your needle, and then you're going to kind of weave it into the middle section, and then just pull out at any point, doesn't matter where. You're just going to pull out, bring this in with you, and I'll do my best. I'll do my best. So I'm going to kind of curve it up here just so it doesn't hurt anything as I pull it out. And then there we go. So I've already pulled it out right there. Then I will redirect this in the shape that I want it to be. And then I'm going to come up to the very tip here without touching the yarn and just cut it. And then pull it again, and it will just figure its way all the way inside. So I'll do the same now for this one, and then I'm going to also weave this white yarn into the back couple of stitches to hide it off as well. So I'll let you do that, and that will be the first earring. Of course, you will have to repeat this twice, and then I'll show you how to attach the jump ring and the earring to this as well. If you want to see how I weave the white portion, I've just come in here with my needle, and that's why it has to be a sharp needle, because you want to get underneath some of these stitches. And you'll come under here, then you'll weave the yarn tail through the eye of the needle, and then you will use a pair of pliers to pull that through. And once you've pulled it through nice and tightly, as best as you can, you're just going to pull it a little bit more and then chop it. And there we go. So that there is the final product of my earring. Now I just have to attach the hoop and the hook. So let us do that now. So you want to choose which side is going to be your front side, and I'm going to leave it as this side here. Well, actually, because I connected it, this could actually be my front side, and you could change it. You've got, for me, I use a darker yellow here and then a lighter yellow here, but for you, you might just have the same color yellow. So it really depends what you want to do there. But anyway, so I've got my jump ring here, and I've opened it up from the side, from a side angle, so I've opened it up. And then I'm going to just choose any corner. So I might choose, let's say, this corner over here. And do you remember that corner space? We're going to go into that. So it's that, do you remember we did a single crochet stitch and then we chained 2? So in that chain 2 space, that's where we're going to enter our jump ring. From this point, since this here is facing forward, I want the hoop or the hook to face behind as best as I can. Again, this is sideways, so you just do the best that you can, and it will all work out. So I'm putting on my hook at this point, and then I do like to put the hook for some reason on the left side. For some reason it's easier for me to close the hoop when I put it on the left side. I don't know why. It's like my brain just prefers it. And I'm closing the jump ring from the side as well. So this is what we're doing. We're just closing it as best we can, making sure that there are no gaps. I'll push it a little bit this way, but not too much, because I really don't want to touch it forward ways. And once we're happy with that and there's no gaps there, then this will be our final earring. So just shape it the way you want. You've got wire there, so you can shape it at this point. and then there is our beautiful hook. And so it's going to look like this once you have finished, as you can see. And that's it. That will be your granny square earrings. And if you decided to make the smaller version, then this is what your smaller version will look like. You just won't have that final layer of the single crochet stitches. And that's it. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed that tutorial, learning how to make these granny square earrings. I hope I explained it as best as I could to you, and that you were able to make these for yourself. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, please give this a like and subscribe, and also make sure you comment in the chat below if you enjoyed it. Thanks guys, see you in the next one.